This is a Chucky Beat production.
Hey, what is going on YouTube? My name is James and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at and reviewing the Vostok Amphibia, which is also nicknamed the Scuba Dude. Now the price of this piece can range anywhere between £35 and £60 online. I have actually managed to pick myself up a Vostok Amphibia, which is coming to me soon, so expect a video on that one also. The movement it uses is the 2416B automatic. Its case size is 40mm across from this point to this point. It is 14.4mm thick from this point to this point, 46mm from this point to this point, and it also has 18mm lugs, which is these. The crystal it uses is an acrylic crystal, which is pretty much like cheap plastic, I'm not gonna lie. That's what it uses instead of sapphire or mineral. These are quite common on the older watches. When you look back to like the 70s, a lot of the watches from back then have these acrylic crystals. It does have lume on the hour and minute hand, and also on the seconds hand it's got a little pip, and then on all the hour markers it has lume. And it is water resistant to 200 meters, or rated to 200 meters, and it uses some very cool technology which we'll get into in a second. Now before we before we jump more into this review, I want to quickly show you a few clips from my first impressions video, so let's roll that. I don't like this watch, and I'm going to tell my reasons why, and this is why I wanted to do initial thoughts, because my dad said to me my opinion will change. I think even Anthony said that my opinion will change on this watch because he loves his Vostok, and I just don't like the watch. And the reason I don't like the watch is this bezel has no click. It literally just slides. That's one thing that really bugs me. The second thing I really dislike, and this has a reason, the reason the crown is so wobbly is apparently because I can't remember the exact thing. It's something to do with the shock resistant, and like if you knock it, the way, because it's wobbly, it takes more resistance or something like that. This is where the dislike is definitely going to come in. I call it. I truly call it, because this kind of wobble, are you ready for this? Like that kind of play on a crown, you know, is look, I've seen this kind of play on a few crowns, and you know what this kind of play is on? Cheap watches. Okay, so let's see if my opinion has changed. First, let's cover a bit of the history of the Vostok Amphibia. It was designed in 1967. Vostok is obviously a Russian brand. The story goes that the company didn't have access to the kind of materials that the Swiss did, but needed to make a resistant and a very robust and reliable dive watch that could resist water resistance of up to like 200 meters. So to get around that problem, they actually invented a few different things. One is the case back. So instead of a real typical screw down case back or screw in case back, it actually has this unique design that has this massive rubber gasket that goes around the outside, bigger than the typical one. And also the way that this design works is the deeper you go, the tighter this case back gets. So theoretically, the deeper you go, the more water resistant this watch gets, which is very cool, very unique, and very different. So first off, let's cover the design of this watch. It looks beautiful. I absolutely love that dial, the way the sort of sunburst blue is. It is really unique. I love it. The second hand, if I'm honest, looks really cheap. It's like a real sort of cheapy plastic kind of looking thing with a lot of shine, whereas the minute hand and hour hand doesn't have any sort of shine like that, obviously, other than the stainless steel. The markers also have that sort of same shine that the hour and second hand does, but the second hand just looks like a cheap bit of plastic, I'm not gonna lie. Also, the date does not sit correctly in the date box, as you can see right there. It doesn't sit correctly, which is really frustrating. The bezel has this red bit here, which is obviously for diving. The typical dive is around 20 minutes, and that is what this is showing. This is showing a 20-minute period. Now most dive watches, such as the SKX I'm wearing, actually have it go around this way. This has it go around the other way. Now you could bring it around this way, I guess, and wear it like this, because then that's the correct way, but then you've got the big pip here. To me, that bugs me. I'd rather the big pip be at the start of the dive rather than at the end of the dive, but I guess it's so you can see when you're getting close to the end of the dive or something like that. I have no clue. That's another thing. We'll cover the bezel quickly. It doesn't have any click, so it does just like move like this, And this watch does have a very large cult following, which swear by this watch and all of its features. Now, personally, I think a lot of this as being a true dive watch that you can go diving with kind of goes out the window when you think that this bezel can just slide around like this. Personally, I wouldn't go diving with this. Obviously, you probably go diving with your computer, like your diving computer on your wrist, but still, if you were relying on this, I definitely wouldn't advise it. It just slides. If you knock it, you're screwed. So the movement is an in-house 2416B automatic, which obviously has a date feature right here. It's a 31 joule movement, which is obviously quite a bit more than the average. It has an average rate of minus 10 seconds to plus 30 seconds a day. It has 19,800 beats per hour, so it's not as smooth as the typical 21,100, is that right? I think it's that. It has a 36-hour power reserve, or at least that's what people claim, and it's considered a really reliable little workhorse. Now, it is an automatic and it does have manual wind. This watch has stopped on me twice from without manual winding, so I've been wearing it every single day for the past 4 days, and within that time I wake up and the watch has stopped. It stopped running, which means the automatic feature, you know, the rotor in the back isn't doing the best it could, or the power reserve isn't holding the best it could. Whether that's just this watch in particular or it's all Vostoks, I really don't know. I'm gonna probably go out on a wing and say it is this Vostok and not all of them, but yeah, that's quite frustrating. You find yourself manually winding this watch quite a lot. This movement is also used by other manufacturers, such as ones like Raketa. Now, I've owned a few Raketas in the past, and they are very, very cool watches, so it's cool to know that Vostok produced this movement and other brands use it in Russia. Now, the size and dimensions are very, very nice in my opinion. This 40mm across is like a perfect size. It is a little thick, but that is due to its design features and this domed crystal, this domed acrylic crystal, which is very, very nice. I do like it. It gives this real sort of awesome look from a lot of different angles. I think it looks awesome, so good job on that. Now, the loom, I've heard a lot of people actually swear by the Vostok loom. I have to say, it's pretty damn bad on this one. Again, I've seen some pictures of it being like glowing like anything. I think there's a bit of photo manipulation in them, but in general, this loom will be bright, like really bright, and then it will dull down and it will go pretty damn quick. It's not the best loom ever, and it's not really a diving loom in my opinion. It needs to be a lot better. And obviously, having 200 meters water resistant, the features it has with the screw down crown and the getting tighter case back as you go deeper, it's great for water resistance, so good job. So one thing I mentioned is the crown and this dreadful wobble, and you have to like pull it out a little bit to manually wind, as you can see, and then changing the time is like, it's really difficult. It's not a very nice movement at all in terms of changing the time and the date and everything like that. I said, by the way, I'm recording this video and the first impression still hasn't come out, so you guys haven't got in contact with me. Obviously, I've done my own research. So I'm going to read a link I found on a forum. Many novices are alarmed by the characteristic wobbly crown, but this is part of the design feature. With extra benefits, the Amphibia crown and stem assembly incorporates a clutch between the two pieces hidden inside the crown. They are coupled only when the crown is pulled slightly away from the stem, otherwise they are decoupled and the crown wobbles somewhat in relation to the stem. During winding, the time setting, the crown needs to be manually pulled away slightly, as it does not incorporate an internal spring, eliminating the pressure imparted on the keyless works, and the inherent wobble prevents the stem from getting bent. So that's one of the features. Also, it went on to say about shock resistant, but it didn't really seem like they had any actual proof for that. You know, it's just something that they say. It prevents like better shock, or it creates better shock resistance. So this crown is apparently like this to reduce it from bending, and also because it lacks some of the features that the traditional watches have, and it's done that for a certain reason. Now, you can take that how you want. Personally, I would just rather have a normal crown. Them sort of features that they've said are just not enough for me. I have never bent a stem crown, and I don't know anyone or crown stem even, and I don't really know many people who have, and that it's that big of an issue that you need this terrible crown. It is honestly dreadful, and it really puts me off the watch. That's my opinion. Obviously, this is all my opinion. If you completely agree, or if you completely disagree and you love this watch, then fair enough, you wear it, like, enjoy your watch. But I'm just saying, it is absolutely dreadful in my opinion, and you know, just the the way it all works is terrible. And this paired with the bezel just makes it not a great watch in my opinion. It's far from a great watch. Is it a good watch? Yeah, I'd say it's a good watch. You know, it's keeping time really, really well. And for how cheap they are, I don't see how them two things can completely say this is a crap watch, because it isn't. It's just not very good in my opinion. I'm going to keep this review fairly short. There's not really much to go over other than them things I've discussed. Now let's just talk about it from a beginner standpoint, because I hear everyone always say for beginners this is a great watch to go for, and I want to say it really isn't. It really isn't a watch for beginners. And people always say, yeah, but it's automatic, James. You know, it's got the automatic features, it's got manual winding, it's a really great watch and all this sort of stuff, and it's got like decent water resistance, and you know, it's great. Well, I have to say, if you want a really cheap watch that's automatic and is a bit vintage, these two right here are your great choices. You got Seiko 5s for a similar price, if not a bit more expensive, Citizen Eagle 7s, which are cheaper, all around the same price, and Orient 3 stars, which I don't own, which again are around the same price. Water resistance wise, you can get Citizen Eagle 7s that are 100 meters water resistant, which is more than enough. You can get Seiko 5s, which are 100 meters, 200 meters water resistant, some of them, which is more than enough. And Orient 3 stars, again, you can get 100 meter water resistant ones. Personally, if you're a newbie, these are where you should go, in my personal opinion. I don't think this is a good start if you're a newbie. I think this is a terrible start if you're a newbie. This horrible bezel is going to give you really bad impressions of watches first. Secondly, this crown is just a nightmare to use, and I think if you're a newbie into watches, this would probably put you off watches. I think it's that bad. I showed it to a few people at work, and I even showed it to a few customers at work, and like asked what they thought of it, because I deal with watches, and they said this crown is awful. They said it just really puts them off the watch because it looks nice, but this just makes it dreadful. These obviously don't have that feature, that wonderfully wobbly crown, and they have a very normal crown, which is very stable and changes dates and does everything like a normal crown should. It doesn't have manual wind, but still, in my personal opinion, people saying that newbies should get these like as their first watch, I don't think they should. I think it'd be a very, very bad choice, and I think you could even be putting them off watches. Whereas if you own a few watches, like I do, and like a lot of you probably do, this is an awesome watch to get to add to your collection. You know, it's got these cool designs like the case back that increases water resistance the deeper you go. It's got such a cool design, and also varies in design. I think if you own a few watches, this is a great watch for you because it's so cheap. You know, it's just a fun little watch. But if you're a newbie, I'd say avoid this watch until you've got used to watches and you own a couple of other watches. That's my personal opinion. I think people advising this to newbies is just a bad idea. Now, that being said, I bought one of these and it's on its way. This was my dad's. I want to say thank you to my dad for letting me review it. The one that's on its way has got a modified bezel, and I'll go more into detail and who it came from because he's another YouTuber when it comes, and say thank you and all that sort of stuff. So, after saying all of that stuff, I bought one because it has grown on me. I really, really enjoy it. It's a fun watch, regardless of these two terrible features, the bezel and the crown. I still think it's a great watch, and I'm sure I'll probably fall in love with it just as I have my other watches. But to conclude, if you're a newbie and you're looking to get into watches and you're watching this review because someone said, hey, get a Vostok as your first watch, I'm going to tell you not to. Don't get a Vostok for your first watch. Get something like a Seiko 5, Citizen Eagle 7, an Orient 3 star, something along them lines, that are similar price, but much better of a watch in my personal opinion. Once you've got a few watches, get a Vostok. They're great watches if you own other watches, in my opinion. As a first and only watch, I think you'll regret it. That's my personal opinion. So let me know what you think down in the comments. If you agree or disagree, let me know. I'm sure the likes and dislikes will definitely show me that, because again, this watch has a cult following just like Seiko and other brands like that. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all again in the next one. Take care and peace out.